In this video, I'm going to show you how you can use the blockchain in your own real-world projects with a step-by-step tutorial. And I'm actually going to show you a technique that I'm using right now on a real-world project so that you can learn the techniques that I use as a professional blockchain developer. So if you want to learn how to use the blockchain in the real world, then you're going to want to watch this whole video. So really quickly before you get started, if you're new around here, I'm Gregory from Dapp University, and on this channel, I teach you how to become a blockchain master. So if that's something that you're interested in, then click the like button down below and click subscribe. And if you want to take the next step to mastering blockchain, you should join my free training on my website over at dappuniversity.com/bootcamp. Before we get started, let's go ahead and install a few dependencies. The first dependency you need on your system is Node.js, and this comes with Node Package Manager that we'll use to install all the libraries for the project we're going to build. So you can go to your terminal and just type node-v to see if you already have it installed, and if you don't, you can install it with the Node.js website like I have here. All right, the next dependency that you need is MetaMask. This is a Chrome extension that's going to turn your web browser into a blockchain browser. So head on over to the Google Chrome Web Store to install MetaMask. Once you've installed it, you'll see a Fox icon appear in your browser that will show you, an Ethereum account that gets created after you walk through the setup steps, okay? And an Ethereum account is going to be essential for you to follow along with this tutorial and get the benefit out of this project that we're going to build today. So let me explain what this is and how it works, all right? I'm going to show you how to use the blockchain to create an authentication system for your projects. And this is actually something I'm doing on a real live project right now. Okay, so I just launched my new program, Blockchain Mastery University, and actually at the time I record this video, that's closed for now, so you can jump on the wait list for the next one if you'd like. But inside that program, we've built a website that uses blockchain-based membership, okay? And you must hold a token in order to access all the content on that website, okay? So what I'm going to do today is show you a very simple version of how that works, all right? I'm not going to show you the whole thing because unfortunately, that wouldn't be fair to everyone who's inside the program, but I'll give you a little taste of what that looks like so that you might get an idea about how to implement something like this for yourself. Okay, so basically, how most traditional authentication systems work is they use database authentication. So, normally you have a web browser. Let's see here. Let me make that font a little bigger. So you have a web browser, right? And essentially that talks to, a server. And this server has a backend database, so server, database. And essentially, like whenever you log in with a username and password, your username and password is stored here on the server database. If you go to a website like, let's just say, YouTube, for example, maybe like we were watching this video, you log into YouTube with your username and password, you visit the YouTube website, and it stores your username and password here and says, yes, you are you, and you have access to your account, okay? That's called authentication and really authorization to show that you're able to do certain things, okay? So what we can do is basically replace this server and this database with the blockchain, okay? So I'll show you how we're going to do that, right? We'll just move this over. And instead of using a server and a database, we're going to use our website, or a browser, I guess. And we're going to talk to a website. All right, that'll be the next thing. And then next, we're going to use blockchain and then /database, because essentially the blockchain is a database in this case, okay? So we'll talk to a website that will say, who are you? Can you see this web page? And we're going to use the blockchain as the source of truth to determine whether you can do that, all right? And in the case of this project that I'm working on for Blockchain Mastery University, everyone who holds a token is going to be able to access this website, okay? So I'm not going to build out an entire token in this tutorial, but what I am going to do is show you how you can restrict certain accounts from accessing this website. So it's still pretty cool, and that's what I want to get started with now. So in order to build a project, I want to get started with this starter kit that I have on my GitHub, okay? So this is some boilerplate code that I've written so that we don't have to, install everything from scratch. We're going to just clone this project and use the code to get started, okay? So go to your terminal, copy this URL here, and say git clone, all right, then paste in this URL, and then we'll give the project a name. I'll call this blockchain login. All right. All right, so that worked, and I'm going to enter into that directory now. Say cd blockchain login. And all right, there we go. The next thing I'm going to do is install the dependencies. So I'll say npm install. All right, so that worked. And you might see some warnings here. Don't worry about those right now. As long as your package is installed, you should be fine, okay? Okay, so next what I want to do is go ahead and open up a new tab here. All right, this is going to be a separate tab that we'll use to develop the project. But in this tab where we install the dependencies, I'm going to say npm run start. And this will start the development server and show you what we got whenever we install the project, okay? So here we go. We can see this Dapp University Starter Kit splash page. So what we have here is, like I said, some boilerplate code that I've written in this GitHub repository. It's got my logo on here and some just dummy text. It's got a nav bar here. So what you're seeing is the Bootstrap templating framework, looks really nice. It's got a clean looking UI, and we're not going to have to write any CSS in this tutorial to achieve this, okay? It's already done for us. So what we'll do now is customize this to talk to the blockchain and implement our authentication scheme. All right. So what I'll do is go ahead and open this in my text editor. I'll say like this, subl dot. Okay. So I'm using Sublime Text, and this thing that I did here in my terminal is just a symlink to open Sublime Text. People ask me about this a lot, like how do I get this set up? If you just Google symlink Sublime Text, you should be able to find instructions for your operating system. Okay, so inside of here, what we have are several different directories. We got a source directory. This is the one we're going to focus on for this tutorial. Okay, this is where all the React components are going to live that we're going to use to create this project. Okay. And just in case you're not familiar with React, a really quick primer is it's a JavaScript framework that's used for building user interfaces. And that's exactly what we're going to build in this tutorial. So, really quickly, it's a component-based library. We write all our code inside these React components. All right. You can mix HTML and CSS, and these components are reusable. So I've got several tutorials on my channel that show you how to use React, but I'm going to show you how to do it today quickly with this one. So if you want a more in-depth explanation, you can check that out. All right. And if you want a really deep dive, you could also jump inside my Blockchain Developer Bootcamp. All right. So let's see here. Let's open up the components directory and see this app.js component. All right, this is the main React component that we're going to modify today to build this tutorial. Okay, here's all the code. You can see Dapp University Starter Kit. Edit this component. Right, there's the instructions. That's what we'll do. So the first thing that we want to modify in here is the connection to the blockchain. Okay, so what we're going to do is install the Web3 library. Actually, we already installed it here in the package.json file. You can see Web3. All right. But what we're going to do is actually import it into this app.js file like this. Let's just say import web3. All right, save that. And I'm going to go back to my web browser and open up the console like this just to make sure there's no errors. Okay, so that worked. And next what I want to do is actually instantiate a Web3 connection. Okay. So I'm going to create some functions inside this component. The first one's going to be called component will mount. All right, this is actually just a component that React understands for free. So we say async component will mount. And this is called a lifecycle method in React. Basically, these React components are these bits of reusable code, right? This class, right? So essentially, like these components, they have a life cycle. They have a birth, a life, and a death. And essentially, the component will mount is saying execute all the code inside of here whenever this component is going to get mounted to the React virtual DOM. All right, that's how React works. So you don't have to understand this super in depth, but that's how it works. Essentially, just know that whenever this component gets rendered, this is going to get fired at a very specific point in its life cycle. Okay, so inside of here, I'm going to say await load web3. All right, I'm going to create that function right now. So we'll say async load web3, and this is where we're going to create the connection to the blockchain. All right, so I'm actually going to paste some code inside of here. We don't have to create it all step by step, and there's a very good reason for that, which is that you don't have to understand everything that's going on inside of here. Here's why. This code is basically modified from exactly what MetaMask tells us to do whenever we connect to the blockchain. So let me explain that further. Essentially, we got some errors, but we'll fix this in a second. When you look at this website, in order to make this website talk to the blockchain, you need two things, all right? You need your web browser to be able to talk to the blockchain. So you need a blockchain web browser. That's what MetaMask does. And then your actual application code needs to be able to talk to the blockchain. And that's what Web3 does. Okay, so quick recap. MetaMask turns your browser into a blockchain browser, and Web3 turns your app into a blockchain app. And MetaMask talks to Web3 to make those two things connect, and vice versa. And that's what's going to allow us to check the authentication, which we're going to build in a second. So anyways, MetaMask basically tells us that this is how we need to load Web3 inside of our projects, okay? I basically just copied this from a blog post and modified it myself, all right? Sorry, guys, I did this incorrectly up here. I'll say import Web3 from Web3. That was my fault. Actually, I'm going to move this up a line like this. Actually, up one more. Save that, go back to our browser, and there we go. So sorry, I made a little mistake whenever I was writing that first line of code. Okay, so it's working. We can see that Web3 is no longer throwing any errors. So let's move on to the next part. Now what we want to do is actually import the account from MetaMask in order to check our authorization. So let me explain that further. So accounts on the blockchain are sort of like your username, all right? So you can see a list of accounts inside of here. Whenever you create a MetaMask, if this is your first time using MetaMask, you'll probably only see one account. But basically what we're going to do is fetch the account from this wallet in the app and check it against a list, okay? And if that account is in the list, then we will show the content on the page. So I'll explain that more. So, we'll have an account, say, let's just bump this font up. We'll say your account. And then we'll have some other accounts over here, like account number 1, account number 2, account number 3. All right, and then basically what we're going to do is check your account against this list, and if your account is in this list, then you will be authorized, okay? So, all right, so authorized, and if it's not, you'll be unauthorized. That's the code that we're going to write today in this tutorial, okay? So we'll go back and do that. What we want to do is fetch the account like this. We'll just say async, say fetch account. And we'll do it like this, so const web3 equals window.web3. All right, that's what we just did here. And then what we'll do is say const accounts. Actually bump this font up a little bit so you can see better. Accounts equals, let's see here, await web3 eth get accounts. All right. So here's actually the documentation for that. This is the Web3.js documentation website. So you can see how this works. Basically, this is just the function that we use to return all the accounts that the node controls. In this case, this is just MetaMask. So you can see an example here. Web3 eth get accounts, and they use the then promise chain to return the accounts. But in our case, we're using the async await pattern. So really quickly, I'll explain that. This is an asynchronous function call in JavaScript. So if I didn't use this await keyword, essentially this would not return the accounts. It would return a promise. But what we want to do is wait for the promise to resolve, okay? So if you're not familiar with asynchronous versus synchronous function calls, you can just check that out on Google a little more. Basically, a synchronous function call would, a synchronous, not an asynchronous, a synchronous function call would just execute this and return the value instantly, right? But this actually has to take some time, and we must use the await keyword if we want to wait for it to finish in order to return the value, all right? So here's the accounts, and now what we're going to do is actually fetch this inside, store it in React with the state object, all right? So React has this handy state object that comes with React components, and we can stash the value inside the account like this. We just say this set state, and we pass in the account like this. Account equals accounts 0. All right. So accounts here is going to be an array, and web3 eth get account is going to be, an array. And then with accounts, we can just fetch the first one out of it to get the account that we're currently using in MetaMask. So I'll just console log this so you can see. Sol.log accounts. All right, save that. Go back to the web browser. Refresh. All right, so we're not calling this function yet, so we should do it like this. Wait, this, fetch account. All right, so we got a problem here. Web3 eth get account is not a function. Okay, so we got to fix that. So this should be get accounts plural. All right, save that. Sorry, go back. And there we go. There's the accounts array. So this is what it looks like when we pull the accounts from MetaMask. But in this case, we just put the first one. So we choose, like the first one like this. It's a zero-based index, so we just read it out of the array like that. All right, so we fetched the account. Now what we want to do is actually check the authorization and say like, hey, is this account in the authorized list of users? So what I'll do is create some accounts. Let's say async. Let's see, check authorization. All right, and inside of here, what I want to do is say const authorized accounts, say equals. And what I'm going to do is paste in a list of accounts here, okay? So I'm going to open Ganache and paste in some accounts. So Ganache is a personal blockchain. If you've done any of my other tutorials, you may have seen this before. It's not necessary that you have to have Ganache on your computer to do this step. You can copy these out of the source code for the project that I'm going to post. But here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to copy some accounts out of here. Put parentheses, quotations around them. And I'm just going to copy like these. And then also a couple more. So what's going to happen is this is our list of authorized accounts that can view the content on the page. And then additionally, what I'm going to do is copy my account from MetaMask like this. So I'm going to go to MetaMask, find the account, copy to clipboard, and put it inside of that code as well. Okay, so boom. All right. So this is going to be my list of authorized accounts. So if I log in with any of these, I'll be able to see the content on the page. And if not, then I won't be able to. All right. So those are the authorized accounts. What we want to do is say const authorized. Let's see here, equals authorized accounts. And we use this function includes. This is a array method. Okay, includes this.state.account. All right. And we'll say console log authorized. All right, save that, go back to the browser. And we're not calling this function yet, so let's do that. I'm gonna clear this out. Say await this check authorization. There we go, authorized true. So I'm gonna go switch to a different account in MetaMask that's not included in that list and see if the authorization goes to false. Refresh the page. There we go, authorized false. Okay, so that's what we wanna see. All right, now our basic authorization is working. Now let's actually implement this on the page to show and hide this logged in area so that certain people have access to it and others don't. All right, so I'm gonna clear out this and I'm gonna say this.setState. All right, we'll say authorized and authorized, okay. So now technically we can write this in shorthand with ES6 syntax. This is the newer version of JavaScript. So this is a key and this is a value. And anytime you have a key and a value that have the same variable name as the key, when you're assigning like this, you can just do that. Okay, so that's the same thing. All right. So now what I want to do is actually go to the page and show and hide certain content. Okay. So what we're going to do is basically check it like this. We'll say, well, let me do this first. What we're going to do is create some content for the authorized section and some content for the unauthorized section. So basically, like if they're logged in, they'll be able to see one type of page, and if they're not logged in, they'll have to see a different type of page, okay? So I'm going to create pages for that. Let's create some new components, all right? So I'm going to create a new file. So I'm going to create a new React component called authorized with a capital A, and another one called unauthorized. Okay, so inside of here, I'm just going to copy this app.js file and paste it into authorized, clear out all this junk, and we're just going to create a simple React component like this. Take out all these functions. Just do a render, all right? And I'm going to take out all this. Just going to be a div and an h1. And then a paragraph. And this will be authorized. All right, and same for unauthorized. I'll just copy this now. Save this. Go to unauthorized and paste this in. And this will be unauthorized. And then I go back to app.js and we'll import those like this. I'll say import authorized, capital, sorry, from, and then ./authorized. And the same thing, let's see here, this will be unauthorized. Okay, save that. Boom, done. All right, so now let's customize these. What I'll do here is basically just say, congrats, you've been authorized. And what I'm going to do is actually also pass down the account and say, your specific account has been authorized to view this. All right, so we're going to pass in the account, which I'll show you how to do in a second with the props object. Okay. So next, we'll go to the unauthorized page, and I'm going to say, hey, if you haven't logged in, sorry, you're unauthorized. Your account hasn't been authorized. Please sign up. All right, we're going to pass down the account props to display your account on the page here as well. Okay. So go back to this app.js, and we'll render that out. So we've imported both of these. Let's just check our project, make sure there's no glaring errors, and it looks like there are. I messed something up here. So looks like I made a syntax error, guys. Sorry about that. These should not be in quotation marks. Sorry, it was a late night last night. I'll put it that way. Save this and go back here, and there we go. Boom, awesome. So now what I want to do is customize this more. And inside this render function, we're going to check the authorization and render out the component based on, which we want to show. So we'll say let body. All right, that's going to be the body of the actual content. We'll say if this.state is authorized. All right, we're going to do one thing, and if not, we're going to do a different thing. All right, so body equals authorized. And we're going to pass in account equals this.state.count. All right. And then if it is not authorized, we'll say unauthorized. All right. So make sure there's nothing going on here. All right. So we got a problem here. So it can't check authorized. So this.state authorized. So it looks like we haven't set a default state. So I'll do that right now. Sorry about that. Essentially what we want to do is set a default state object in a constructor like this. Boom. So the React constructor is just the function that gets run whenever the component's created. And we can populate the props and the state like this. So we'll say authorized false. Okay. So now if we go back to our page, that should work just fine. Okay, awesome. Okay, so now let's clear out all of this. Okay, let's find everything inside of this main, right? So div class name content, margin right auto, margin left auto. We'll take out everything from inside of there. All right, boom. Okay, here we go. Should be everything. And now what we want to do is just say body. All right, it's as simple as that. And hopefully that should render out what we want. Now here's the moment of truth. Boom, there we go. Awesome. So that's what we expect. All right, sorry, you're unauthorized. Your account, this is unauthorized. Please sign up. All right. So now if we switch the account over to the one that's actually in, this list right here, right? We should be able to see the content. So let's see if it works. Boom, there we go. Congrats, you're authorized. So your account has been authorized. Awesome, guys. So that's how you would implement a basic authentication scheme inside of your blockchain projects. Basically, you want to hide any content where it's not visible to certain people based on their blockchain address. That's how you do it. This is, like I said, a simple version on this. I'm building this out for real inside my Blockchain Mastery University program, where we're requiring people to hold tokens in order to access a membership website. So you can do this on production projects. There's lots of directions you could take this kind of thing, but that gets you started on this idea and shows you what's possible. Okay, so hope you liked the video. Check the links down in the video description for all the examples and the starter kit and things like that. So again, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Click the like button down below. And if you're serious about becoming a blockchain developer, you want to learn more about this stuff and how to build React applications and smart contracts and learn about the blockchain, build your own dApps, then you need to check out my Blockchain Developer Bootcamp. All right, you can check the video description down below for the link to join. All right, until next time, thanks for watching Dapp University.